guys, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And it's Wednesday, so you know that means it's time for Weekend Watch, which is my weekly segment where I give you guys my choices for Blu-ray and rental options to watch at home, as well as a few selections for those of you who want to head out and see a movie in the theater. And I have an interesting pile this week. I have one in particular that's a little bit of a walk on the wild side. It's a little departure from what I would normally suggest, but it is so good I couldn't leave it off my list. Anyway, let's get started with my first pick, 12 Strong, starring Chris Hemsworth, who you probably know better as Thor. It also stars Michael Pena and Michael Shannon, who you may remember for his role in The Shape of Water. Now this is, I'm just going to read it off the slipcover, the declassified true story of the horse soldiers. And if you don't know who the horse soldiers were or why they'd make a movie about them, don't worry about it because I didn't either. I went into this movie pretty much blind. But anyway, these guys were the first unit of 12 men who were on the ground in Afghanistan following the World Trade Center bombings in New York City. Their mission was top secret, it was classified, and what they were told to do, their orders were that they were to go to a rendezvous point where they would meet up with an Afghani general from the Northern Alliance who was going to take them to these various desolate locations, these remote locations where the Taliban was known to have a stronghold. What they didn't know, and they found out when they got there, is that they weren't going by car or Jeep or Humvee. They were going on horseback, hence horse soldiers. Now, I don't want to give away too much about the movie because I just want you to experience it for yourself. But what I can tell you is these guys were so brave and just so... What they did was nothing short of a miracle. They were outnumbered. The artillery and the Taliban had tanks and missiles and all kinds of firepower. Our guys had machine guns, and they were on horses, and they were in terrain. We all know, we've all seen the pictures what the Afghanistan terrain is like, and these guys went into that. They were totally out in the open on these horses, unprotected, and they just went. So I can tell you that the action sequences were really good. The location felt very authentic. I believe it was filmed in New Mexico, but it felt very authentic. The characters were very likable. The character development for some of them, for most of them, was pretty superficial, and maybe in some parts it felt a little formulaic, but, you know, from an entertainment standpoint, I thought it was all pretty good. And what I did really like was the characters, Chris Hemsworth's character, he plays the captain of the squad, and the Afghani general. Their relationship was really intense, and they did go into that. That was not superficial at all. And they had some pretty amazing conversations about how we think versus how Afghanistan people think, and what it means to commit to a certain mission or a war or a cause. And it really showed a lot about their similarities and their differences and how they had to learn to work together. And ultimately, they had to learn to trust and support each other when they didn't know if they could trust each other in the beginning. So that was a really interesting dynamic, and that relationship really does unfold through the course of the movie. So, yeah, I would definitely say that this is one that you're definitely not going to want to miss. And I know when I finished watching it, the first thing I did is jump on my iPad and Google the horse soldiers to learn more about it. So there's definitely rewatchability in it because the more I found out, the more I wanted to go back and watch it again. So either rent it or buy it, but either way, definitely watch 12 Strong because it's a really, really good movie. And because of what these men did for the United States, it's definitely worth our time. So yeah, 12 Strong. Now this is my wild pick of the week. Wild card. A Taxi Driver. It's a Korean movie, and it takes place in 1980, and I'm going to have to read this, during the Gwangju Uprising. Gwangju Uprising. It was an uprising that was going on in South Korea because they were under martial law. Their president had been assassinated, and the military had taken over, and the citizens started to protest. They wanted a democracy, and martial law was put into effect, and the military started using deadly force against any protesting citizens. Most of them were university students. Curfews were put into effect. All communication was cut off from the rest of Korea and the rest of the world. So they were really in a situation down there. And this is the story of a taxi driver who was in Seoul. He heard of a journalist who wanted to get down to Gwangju in South Korea, and he heard that the man was willing to pay a very hefty fare. So he's a single father, he has an 11-year-old daughter, and he offers to take this reporter down to this city. He doesn't know why it's dangerous to go down to the city. He doesn't even know that it is dangerous. He just knows that they keep encountering these roadblocks, and he has to keep coming up with excuses of why this journalist, who he thinks is a businessman, has to get in and out of the city. He manages to get him in and out of the city, and when they get there, they realize they have just walked into hell. They see people being killed in the streets, beaten in the streets, shot. They see people waving white flags and being gunned down by the military. It's just horrific. And this really happened. This is a true story. And this journalist realizes that what the people in the outside world in the news what the news is being told is not at all what's true. So he knows the importance of getting out of this town and getting his story to a news network that can tell the rest of the world what is going on to the South Korean people. And that's the gist of the story. This taxi driver, who's just basically an unsung hero, manages to get this reporter in and out of this situation so he can tell the world the true story. This movie was emotional, it was moving, it was inspirational, and it was all kind of wrapped up in one. I think I felt every emotion while I was watching this. And I'm going to say like the first 30 minutes or so, I was like, I don't know about this, but I heard it was really good. And just all I can say is stay with it. Yes, it's subtitled, but I can tell you that I watched it with a person who doesn't enjoy watching subtitled movies. She's not that she doesn't enjoy it, she doesn't do it often. And she had no problem with the movie. She had no problem with the subtitles. It's not dialogue heavy, so you can read the subtitles, and still enjoy the movie. But yeah, A Taxi Driver, it's an amazing, amazing movie. And I don't want to give too much away about the real story about this taxi driver. Just watch it. Rent it, buy it, but watch it. A Taxi Driver. I will actually put a link in the description of where you can watch it in case you can't find it online. Definitely give it a look. And my last pick for home viewing, this is the obvious one, Black Panther. It's the biggest release of the week. I can't not suggest it. All I know is that I am looking forward to watching it on my 4K TV and my home theater system. It's one of Marvel's biggest grossing films ever, and how can I not recommend Black Panther? Definitely give it a look. Probably pick up a copy. But yeah, Black Panther. So those are my picks for home for this week. And as for the theaters, it's all about Deadpool 2, kids. You know what I'm talking about. Deadpool. If you're not a fan of Deadpool 2, the choices are kind of limited. It's kind of the same stuff that's out there. Nothing really new has come out. It's still Tully's out there, RBG is still out there, and there's a few other ones that are sprinkled in, but it's all about Deadpool 2, so if you haven't gotten your tickets, get them, because I know I'm going to be there. Anyway, those are my picks for the week, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you find something in my choices that you enjoy, especially the subtitled movie. If you're not a fan of subtitled movies, let me know in the comments what your apprehension is, because I'd like to help you debunk those myths. Because there is a whole world of content out there that's subtitled, and it's amazing. So let me know. Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much as always for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I upload again, and I will see you guys again real soon. And as for now, that's a wrap.